And the book that I hope to inspire you to read is one that I actually have in paperback. And I'm going to try to hold it up here long enough for you to read it. The title of the book is The Way of Adventure by Jeff Salz. Now, Jeff Salz does have his PhD. I heard this guy speak, gosh, probably about 15 years ago. And the guy brings it, man. If you ever get a chance to hear Jeff Salz speak, man, he can keep you captivated for hours. This guy is a doer. This guy, a matter of fact, one of my favorite quotes that I wrote down some 15 plus years ago at the one time that I heard him speak was, it's the human doing that creates the human being. I thought that was just sick, man. It was just great, very great visual. It's the human doing that creates the human being. And this guy's been a rock climber, an ice climber. He sailed around a giant lake down in Bolivia. I believe it was called Lake Titicaca. Try not to laugh when you say that around your kids. And he did it in a reed boat to try to prove what was and what wasn't possible to be done back in, that generation of time. And he suffered tragedy. He's had people that he's very close to die up on the mountain. He wanted to be a magician as a kid. He's just done so many things. He's not one of those guys that just wants to sit at his desk and read stuff. He wants to go out and actually collect data. He traveled all over South America asking people of all different demographics and backgrounds and upbringings, what's the meaning of life? And I just thought that was incredible. I mean, he had answers like chickens. Chickens are the meaning of life because they provide us food, and their feathers provide us with, warmth and comfort, and we can reuse their bones, and we can do this. And excuse me, we can do all kinds of stuff, But he had all kinds of different answers: family, work, crops. There were just a number of different answers based on who he was talking to. There's a chapter in here where he talks about death and near death and what that can do to somebody to help them get to the next level. Not that he encourages people to go out and get close to dying or do things that are going to bring them death, but talks about having that kind of a mindset, like if your last day to live, what would you do? How would you spend it? So the book gets you thinking, but the other cool thing about the book is that there's like an experience, and then there's a way to tie it back into your everyday life, whether it's your business life, your professional life, your coaching life, maybe you're coaching your kid's soccer team, relationships with your spouse and with your children. Another super cool quote that I wrote down and have committed to memory is, we live in a world that is information rich, but experience poor. And I've really tried to change that to where I don't just read about how to bake something, I'll go ahead and bake it. And it might turn out terribly, but at least I tried. I want to live in a world that's more experience rich, where I can take the information that's available to me and really make it into something, real and positive. When I heard him speak about 15 years ago and I bought his book, I remember reading through the book, and he talks about Joseph Campbell. And at the time, that just went in one ear and out the other. I didn't fully realize who Joseph Campbell is or was, and how important he is to writers and to creators. Joseph Campbell kind of created the hero's journey, which I know Spielberg used to write the Star Wars saga. He used a lot of insight from the hero's journey. He wrote a book, I believe it's called The Myth of 1,000 Faces. I could be butchering the title of that, but Joseph Campbell is one of the original intellectuals who sort of started to realize that there is a pattern to all these amazing stories, whether it's Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Aboriginal mythology coming out of Africa, our own Native American, United States Native American cultures and some of their early stories and explanations of things. He kind of felt like they were all the same story, just told a little bit differently. So I at the time that I read his book, really didn't pay attention to who Joseph Campbell was. It wasn't until years later that I really started to understand and study the life of Joseph Campbell. And I'm going to talk about his books, and then there's a movie that I'm going to share that talks about Joseph Campbell in one of my upcoming videos, because he's had a huge impact on my life for about the last 12 years. The book's fantastic. As I mentioned, it gives real life experiences and real life insights into some of the things he did. And then he kind of reports back and tries to help you tie it into whatever setting that you need help fitting it into. To me, right out of the bat, right out of the gate, there's a chapter called Leap Before You Look. I love that. I'm so risk averse. I need to be reminded a lot to leap before I look, and remember that I can handle whatever may come, that I'm capable, and I can get a lot of learning and insight by leaping before I look. There are 2 chapters that I have read over and over and over again, and I absolutely love them. There's a chapter number 7 where he talks about a gentleman named Eduardo Calderon, who is an actual shaman, and he performs shamanistic rituals. He has since passed away, but if you want to type in the Wizard of the Four Winds into YouTube, you'll find some of his videos. I believe National Geographic went down there and followed him around and actually videotaped a lot of the different rituals that he does. And I know in the book, Jeff Salz actually went and lived with Eduardo Calderon for quite some time, and actually had the shaman himself do some of those shamanistic rituals on Professor Salz. I want to just quickly read one section of that where it's when Jeffrey Salz is leaving. He's leaving Eduardo Calderon and getting ready to go home, and Eduardo Calderon says something like this. He says, "Don't be disappointed when I say this, but there is no such thing as magic. It's all right here and right here. If there is magic, it is in the laws of nature and science. Some of the laws we may not understand or even perceive yet, but they exist nonetheless. Healing is a kind of super psychology that we approach through ritual. I help people by allowing them to believe in me so that I can help them heal themselves. He had given me a conspiratorial wink. The truth is, they do all the work." Now that statement about the magic is here and here, I feel that strongly that we have what we need inside of us. Sometimes we just need somebody to help us unlock it. And that's kind of what Eduardo Calderon did to help people heal themselves. Now he recognizes again that science is real, and doctors are real, and he would have people, he would diagnose problems with people and have them go back home and see a doctor and get cured medically. So it wasn't like he just only believed in self-healing through the mind and super psychology. He still had a very understanding knowledge of doctors. The next chapter in the story that I love reading about is all of a sudden Jeff Salz gets a wild hair, decides to go down to Argentina and live life as a gaucho. And he got the whole get up, the baggy pants, the gaucho pants. He had the whip, the horse, he had it all. And he runs into this very famous gaucho who's well known in the Pampas in Argentina. His name is Gaucho Rivera. And so he kind of goes on this quest to find the meaning of life. And he's all by himself, and he's in a very, very dangerous situation where it's snowing. His horse is trying to take off, and he doesn't know what he's doing, and he's suffering. And somehow, El Gaucho Rivera finds him and says, "Hey, in the morning, follow my tracks, and it will lead you to my puesto, to my abode." And Jeff Salz follows his tracks in the morning and gets to where Gaucho Rivera lives. And he begins to spend time with El Gaucho Rivera. And very quickly he asks El Gaucho, what is the meaning of life? And Gaucho Rivera quickly replies, the meaning of life is to be mugriento. And for those of you that don't speak Spanish, Mugriento translates roughly into being dirty or being like having your hands in the dirt or in the mud. Mugre is mud. And so Professor Salz has them kind of elaborate on what does it really mean to be mugriento? What does it really mean to have your hands dirty? And so Rivera goes on to expound and talk about how it really comes back to being in service to others. And he talks about how when you are dirty, you have no real worry for anything. You can just go and be even dirtier by serving and helping other people. And so there's a lot more to the book than just simplifying ser mugriento. El Gaucho Rivera goes on and talks about some real basic yet profound ways to be of service to others, and to why that phrase ser mugriento is so key. As I mentioned before, this book is phenomenal. I really hope that I inspire a non-reader to read this book, and then put a few comments down below. If you're looking for a great book to read, I highly recommend it. The Way of Adventure by Jeff Salz is one of the only books I have not on my phone, but this book's killer. Jeff Salz is amazing, and I hope you love it as much as I do. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end, and I hope you watch my next video as well. Thank you so much. Have a great week. Oh, I hope that worked. Looks like it.